Let's talk about my backup cast here.
Whether you've ever rescued an animal or eventually realized that animal was doing a little rescuing of its own. Thanks for finding me on Coffee with Dubs. Today, we're talking about the two guys that show up on my walks all the time, but somehow never get much time on screen. Kota and Finn. Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Dubs. If you've watched me out on the trails, you've probably seen pieces of them. A husky pulling ahead of me, another one stopping to smell everything way longer than any reasonable creature should need to. Or me talking to them like they completely understand every word coming out of my mouth. They're usually there even when the camera's pointed at me. Kota came into our lives back in 2022, and honestly, he wasn't originally my idea. A mutual internet friend rescued him from Craigslist. From what we understood, his original situation wasn't a good one. There were signs that he'd been mistreated. The problem was that the family that rescued him already had a senior American bulldog, and the situation became territorial enough that keeping both under the same roof really wasn't fair to either dog. That's when Rachel started working on me, and she convinced me that we could give Kota a home. I was significantly less convinced and handled the disagreement with all the maturity you'd expect from a grown man who absolutely did not want another dog. There was grumbling. There may have even been some childish demands involved. Eventually, I basically said, fine, let's get him a ride. That ride was from New Mexico to New Jersey. A pet carrier brought him across country in the middle of the summer, and I remember waiting, wondering what exactly we'd just gotten ourselves into. Then the door opened, he came out, and I saw those eyes for the first time, one different from the other. I was in love. Kota, however, did not return that feeling. He bonded with Rachel almost instantly. With me, there was distance, and eventually we figured out that was because I resembled the kind of person that was associated with his life before us. So while I was looking at this beautiful dog thinking, buddy, you live here now, he was looking at me like, dude, I'm gonna need some references. And I couldn't really blame him. Trust takes time. Not a weekend, not a couple of treats, and suddenly we're best friends. It was probably 6 to 8 months before Kota really started letting the wall down with me. Meanwhile, our other dog, Wicket, was the center of my world. Wicket was my boy. And before him, I had his father, Chewy. So there was a lot of history with that line for me. And eventually, tumors made Wicket weak enough that keeping him with us would have been for us and not for him. So we had to make the decision that nobody who loves a dog ever wants to make. And that broke me pretty badly. And Kota felt it too. That part surprised me. We were grieving Wicket in our own way, but Kota had lost someone in the house too. He knew the routine changed. He knew somebody was missing. For a while, I didn't want another dog. I told myself, Kota's fine by himself, and maybe part of that was true, but if I'm looking back at it now, a lot of that resistance had nothing to do with what Kota needed. I just wasn't ready to open that part of myself again. And I think sometimes grief makes you protective of the empty space. You know nothing's gonna replace what you lost, but somehow bringing something new into your life can feel like you're trying to. So you leave the space empty because the emptiness itself feels connected to the one who used to be there. About a year after losing Wicket, I finally looked at Rachel and said, I think I'm ready. We can get another dog. Somehow that sentence eventually landed me at the Husky House in Manalapan, which is a rescue specializing in, shockingly enough, huskies. That's where we met Finn. Finn's my brown-eyed fool, part shepherd, part Malamute, and the first time we really connected, I got down with him and he tucked his head right into my chest. And that was pretty much it for me. His name at the rescue was Knight, but after 3 weeks of fostering him, he made it pretty clear that the name Knight meant absolutely nothing to him. So my wife suggested maybe we should try another name. There was a little more meaning behind that than just finding something he'd answer to though. At that point, we were fostering him. Renaming him felt like admitting what we both already knew. If we'd named this dog, we were no longer thinking about leaving him anymore. So I finally said it. He's mine. We started saving the money for the adoption fee, and eventually, Finn officially became part of the family. $500, and I still think at some point was some of the best money I've ever spent. And no, Finn didn't replace Wicket. That's not how this works. He became Finn, and that's what I think I had to learn. Loving another dog didn't take anything away from the dog I lost. My relationship with Wicket still belongs exactly where it belongs. Finn just created another place beside it. And somewhere along the way, these two dogs started changing my life in ways I didn't expect. Owning 2 Huskies means movement isn't exactly optional. They need exercise, and when they are trained and given what they need, they're incredible dogs. But they are also very capable of reminding you that you skipped the walk today. Those walks kind of became our thing, because part of Rachel's heart condition, longer walks with dogs, especially in warmer weather, are usually something I have to handle. So Kota and Finn and I started becoming partners on our trails. What began as something I needed to do for them became something I needed to do for us. I've lost about 50 pounds along the way, but even beyond the exercise, those walks give me a place to get out of my own head for a while. I get into nature, the dogs get to explore, and for however long we're out there, life gets pretty simple. Walk, pay attention, keep going. That's probably why I wanted to talk about them today. They're in the background of so much of Coffee with Dubs because they're in the background of so much of my actual life. They don't care what I'm filming. They don't care whether the episode performs well or not. They just know what they want. They want to know which trail we're taking. Kota came to us because somebody rescued him from a bad situation. Finn came into my life because I finally was ready to let another dog into a space that I'd been protecting. And somewhere in the middle of all that, they both ended up giving me back something too. So thanks for joining me on another Pour Coffee with Dubs. Until next time, try to remember, I thought we were bringing 2 dogs home. Turns out they were building one for me too. And it's kind of cool to be home, isn't it? Now, I'm out of here.